Okay, so we're going to finish up the book today, and then we're going to be learning 3 new vocabulary words from the story, A Bad Case of the Stripes. She went into Camilla's room. Oh, I skipped a page. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. What we have here is a bad case of the stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said, "these might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big heaping plate full of lima beans, more than just about anything. But she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." We know Camilla likes lima beans, right?
Yeah.
So why do we think she's saying this? You can raise your hand and tell me, why is she saying this?
She is, because she doesn't want to get embarrassed by her friends.
She doesn't want to be embarrassed because she knows that not everyone likes lima beans, so she doesn't want to be embarrassed. Do you guys agree? Raise your hand if you agree. Yeah. All right, hands down. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." "Oh dear," the old woman said sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them in Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured!" she shouted. "What happened?" You can raise your hand and tell me what happened. She turned perfect. She turned back to who she was. Why? How did she turn back into? How did she?
Because she ate the lima beans.
That's right. She ate the lima beans, and she stopped worrying about what other people thought about her, and she ate those lima beans anyway, didn't she? And she turned back to normal. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." What does the old woman mean when she says that the real you was in there somewhere? What does she mean by that?
That yourself was, and not just all these things.
Yeah, that Camilla was actually there, and not all those things that were around her, right? The real her was in there. That's right. She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. She vanished. That means that she suddenly disappeared. So the old woman just disappeared. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of stripes again. Camilla must be very happy she finally got rid of her stripes, and she eats lima beans. You guys agree?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's wrap this story up real quick. At the end of the story, Camilla wasn't quite the same. How has she changed from the way she was in the beginning of the story to the way she is now? How has Camilla changed from the way she was in the beginning to the way she is now? Ron? How's she changed?
Because at the beginning she was kind of big, and then at the end she wasn't big, she was skinny.
Okay, but how did she change the way she thought? That is true. She changed the way she looked, but how did she change the way she thought?
Because in the beginning of the story, because her friends didn't like beans, so she was like, oh, I'm stop saying I don't like beans. It's her first time. And then at the end, when the lady gave her the beans, she said, stop, wait. She said, stop, wait. I really love this. And then at the end, the other children was like ill, and then she didn't care what anybody said.
That's right.
She still ate all the beans that she wanted.
At the beginning, she didn't want to eat the beans because she thought that other people would be mean to her and make fun of her for it. The lima liking lima beans. But at the end, she didn't care anymore. And she ate all the lima beans she wanted to, didn't she? Because she didn't care what other people thought of her. She was going to do what she wanted to do, right?
That's right.
Okay. So, there are 3 words that we're going to learn today, 6 in all. The first 3 words, I'm going to introduce these 3 words to you today. The first word is contagious, okay? In the story, other children's parents wanted Camilla to stay home because they were afraid that her stripes were contagious. That means they were afraid that their children would get the stripes too. Say the word.
Contagious.
Very good. If an illness is contagious, it can spread to other people. For example, if you had chickenpox, you would be contagious and you wouldn't be able to come to school. Let's say the word that describes an illness that can spread.
Contagious.
Very good. Okay, now let's think about things that might be contagious. If I say something that you think is contagious, then you're going to say contagious. If it's not contagious, don't say anything. Okay, you ready? A bad cold.
Contagious.
Blue eyes. You can't catch it. Chicken pox.
Contagious.
Knowing how to swim. Very good. Okay, now listen. If a doctor tells you that you have the flu, what might you say? If the doctor says that you have the flu, what might the doctor say to you? Make sure you're using the word.
You are contagious.
You're contagious. You could say, the flu is contagious, so don't play with your friends while you're sick. So if you're contagious, you don't want to be around anyone else because then they'll get what you have, right? Okay, so what's the word that describes an illness that can spread?
Contagious.
Very good. Our next word is distraction. In this story, the principal said Camilla and her stripes were a distraction for the other students. That means the students were paying too much attention to Camilla and they weren't getting their work done. Say the word.
Contagious.
Distraction. A distraction is something that causes you to lose concentration. If you were doing homework and the dog kept barking, that would be a distraction. Let's say the word that means something that causes you not to pay attention. A distraction. Good job. Let's think about things that could be distractions. If I describe something that you think is a distraction, say distraction. If not, then I'm not going to say it. Okay? Reading and your friend calling you.
Distraction.
That's a distraction. Doing a spelling lesson when it begins to thunder.
Distraction.
Thunder would be a distraction. Being hungry and your dad says, dinner's ready. That's not a distraction. Good job. If you're telling your mom, I want you to think about this. We're thinking of a sentence now. If you're telling your mom about school and your brother starts to talk, what could you say about your brother?
Distraction.
No, we're thinking of a sentence.
That your brother is being really distracting.
Very good. That your brother is being really distracting. That your brother is a distraction, right, while you're talking to your mom. So what's the word that means something that causes you not to pay attention?
Distraction.
Good job. The next word is altered. This is the last word we're going to learn today. In this story, Camilla looked very different to her friends when she came to school with the stripes. Another way to say that is that her stripes altered the way she looked. Say the word
Altered.
Good job. If someone or something is altered, it means that a change has happened to make it look different from what it was before. If you wanted to alter your bedroom, you could paint the walls a different color. Let's say the word that means change the way something looks.
Altered.
Good job. Let's think of some things that have been altered. If I say something that you think was altered, say
Altered.
If not, then don't say anything at all, okay? Your big brother's jacket that was fixed to fit you.
Altered.
That's altered because it's changed the way that it looks now, right? Because it's changed to fit you. The new shoes that fit just right. Those aren't altered at all because those are new and they fit you just right. A peanut butter sandwich after jelly is added.
Altered.
Good job. That's altered because first it's just a peanut butter sandwich, but when you put jelly on it, you change the way it looks. Now it has jelly in it, right? Okay, think of a sentence. If your family painted your living room walls a different color, what could you say about it? You could say,
Our living room is altered.
you could say our living room is altered, or you could say we altered the way our living room looked by changing the walls. Good job. So what's the word that means change the way something looks?
Altered.
Good job, guys. So we're going to be looking for these words in your writing and in your conversations with your family and friends and teachers, and also when you're reading, we're going to be looking for these words, okay? All right, good job.